today's video we're going to be taking a look at the Husqvarna 440. It's a 40.9 cc gas engine. It's got 2.4 horsepower. The saw weighs 9.7 pounds. It's got an 18-inch bar length and the chain pitch is 0.325 inches. I'm going to go ahead and unbox it now. Alright, so I got the new 440 all gassed and oiled up, ready for its first start. Before we get started, I wanted to tell a quick story that I even contemplated telling because it is a little embarrassing, but basically I've owned this 440 for the last 4 years. Back in January we had a big snow/windstorm come through and there was a serious threat of power outages. So I took all my gas cans to the gas station, filled them all up, but I also brought my 1-gallon can that I use for my mixed gas, and I took that to the store, and I never do that. I always just mix the gas here. We ended up not losing power and some months had passed and I never mixed the gas in my 1-gallon mixed gas can. And in February we had a large apple tree come down, and without thinking I grabbed the chainsaw, grabbed my, which is normally my mixed gas can, and just started cutting, filled up without even thinking. And unfortunately the gas that was in that gas can obviously wasn't mixed. So I burned up this chainsaw. I was pretty bummed about it and I kind of contemplated what chainsaw I'm going to get next. I looked at some of the options that Steel has and some other chainsaws, and I almost did purchase a Steel. I was looking at the, I believe the MS 251, the 231. I was just kind of going back and forth, and then I thought to myself that I really did like this 440. I'm familiar with it. So after I contemplated buying a Steel, I thought maybe it would be better just to buy the exact same chainsaw in case ever, you know, I need to pull a part off of this chainsaw and put it on that chainsaw. I can. Also, I have the extra bar, a bunch of chains for it. All right, so next I am going to do the initial first start and get the 440 warmed up, and then we'll head out and do some cutting. So typically I'm not kind of going off trail cutting firewood this time of year, mainly because of all of the poison ivy. But that company we shoot video for, we are preparing to film some stuff with their log splitter. So I need to acquire some decent quality firewood rounds, and I don't want to just split any old wood that's been sitting for, you know, on the forest floor for years. I want something that's relatively fresh, and unfortunately this is the freshest log that I can find, and it is off the trail quite a ways. You can see the gators all the way there, so I'm gonna have to do some trail clearing to be able to get the gator over here, or I got to carry the rounds over the gator. It's too thick in here to get the tractor to pull the log out, so I think it would be quicker if I maybe cut that tree there. I could maybe back the gator in, or maybe over there. But this is a recently fallen cherry. It's relatively straight. This piece right here is pretty straight. It gets kind of wonky towards the end there, but there's a lot of good firewood in this tree. I know cherries are relatively common and a pretty good firewood, so I thought this would be a good log to cut up for that video. Alright, I cleared this little trail by hand, and next I'm gonna have to cut this tree up with the chainsaw. This all might be relatively decent firewood. I think it's an old ash maybe. It's got a nice poison ivy vine or creeper, whichever one it is, growing down it, but I'm gonna have to cut this up. If it's decent firewood, I'll cut it up for firewood rounds, and then I'm gonna need to kind of clear all the debris going this way and this way. And there's the cherry tree, which is my final destination. Alright, just finished up cutting up this section of my trail to our cherry tree over there, but chainsaw performed pretty well. I got hung up a couple times. I had a little bit of kickback, but for the most part it went through the wood pretty well. And like I said, I think this is ash, which is a really hard wood, which can be tough on a chainsaw. As you guys can see in the footage, you can probably tell I am not an expert when it comes to using a chainsaw. I'd consider myself just your average skill level, your average homeowner skill level. But I aspire to become more of an expert as time goes on. But yeah, so I'm going to get these logs cleaned up and kind of clean off this trail so I can get the gator over to the cherry tree over there. Alright, so I've got the trail cleared for the most part. This is the tightest spot that I'm hoping the gator will fit through. And then I got a bunch of sticks and debris and small trees thrown off to the side there and thrown off to the side there. I was going to reverse in, but because of how tight this is, I think I'm going to turn the gator around and going forward, and then I'll be able to back up and reverse to the tree over there. One of these years I'm going to get a machine with a grapple on it, and I can just come in and take it out to the brush pile. Alright, I was able to back the gator up through my little trail that I made. Got as close to this tree as I could get it. Now I'm going to go ahead and start cutting this up. Alright, just got this cherry tree all cut up. Next I'm going to go ahead and get this loaded up in the back of the gator. Might take me a few trips, but I'll take it all over to the wood yard area. I'll get it piled up and stacked and ready to split. Alright, so The Husqvarna 440 performed well, like I expected. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I've owned the saw for around 4 years. I am by no means an expert when it comes to using or operating a chainsaw. However, I do have a fair bit of land and a fair bit of wood, so I'm probably operating a chainsaw a little more than the average homeowner. But like I said, I'm still learning. I'm mostly kind of cutting up trees as they fall. I'm not felling a ton of trees. However, I will fell some trees here and there, but for the most part, I'm just trying to stay on top of the trees that do fall and get them cut and split. Yeah, the 440 is a great chainsaw for what we're doing here. It's a great mid-range chainsaw, under $400. I believe I paid $379 plus tax for it, and for that price point, really can't complain considering the performance. Maybe I'll get a bigger chainsaw in the future, but I know I'll get many good years out of this chainsaw. And but yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this video, guys, and I appreciate you watching.